Hello, I'm here to talk to you about the eXoDOS 6 Linux patch. You may know me by my Discord screen name, Perisic. I have been developing the eXoDOS 6 Linux patch for over a year now. Yelsnik and Colin have been doing amazing work on the front end, and you will find that the user experience is worlds better than previous versions. At this time, the base eXoDOS 6 collection, the Media Pack, and the eXoDream collection have been fully converted. There is still some minor work that needs to be done before release, but it will be soon. Other add-ons and collections will also get converted in time. The scope of the eXoDOS 6 Linux patch is over 5 times larger than the previous eXoDOS 5 Linux patch. Hundreds of broken games have been fixed, and the user experience should be much smoother. My goal, just like Exo's, is to make sure that setting this up and using it is as simple as something a caveman could do. The patch has been designed with longevity in mind. It is my hope that in its current form, this will work for over a decade. I am fairly confident it will. Work has also been done to port the Exo collections to macOS. However, I have paused that effort. We need a volunteer for the front end to port it to macOS. I am not going to do any further backend work to get the collections working on macOS until we have that. We have the backend working for eXoDream, and I think without a front end, you cannot experience the Exo collections as intended. Numerous add-ons, videos, soundtracks, booklets, posters, and metadata help to make the experience of the collections more than just a pack of games. It is kind of the quintessential part of going back in time, like you were in a store where you can just pull out the boxes, look through them, experience a little bit like, what is this game going to be like, versus just launching something based on the name and having no idea what it even looks like. With that said, the focus is the Linux patch for this video. So I'm going to show you a little walkthrough of setting things up on the Steam Deck. I believe this is a good system to demo because it has a couple more steps than desktop computers do, but it shares a lot of the same steps that you would do on a desktop computer anyway. So with that, I am going to factory reset this and we'll walk you through as if it has never been touched. Going to try to keep this as simple as possible so that your caveman friends and anyone from the past that has never used a computer before will be okay with this. Let's get started. Okay, so before you get started, I recommend getting an external dock connected to the Steam Deck or an external keyboard. There is this little mini one that is handy for when you're on the go. That is useful for playing the games as well if you don't want to use the on-screen keyboard. This has a mouse, a button. It's about $50. Works through Bluetooth. It's a pretty good way to do things. If you want to connect it to an existing dock you have that's USB-C, you can just plug it in to the Steam Deck, and that will work with your mouse and keyboard and monitor that's external. There's also an official Steam Deck dock that has all the ports you need that you can just connect and plug in at the top, and then it will even let you set it into a cradle, right? So those, I recommend using one of those options for the initial setup in desktop mode, because it'll just be easier than doing so with a touchscreen. Having an external mouse and keyboard will make these next steps easier. Anyway, from there we turn it on, and if you are connecting a Bluetooth keyboard, then we will need to pair it. So you can see that is blinking because it's not paired. So whenever the Steam Deck starts, we can walk through that real quick. So where we're going to go, I believe we can press the Steam menu and go to Settings and go to Bluetooth, and you turn Bluetooth on, and I believe with this one you actually need to hold it for it to enter in pairing mode. Now with that blinking quickly, we just wait for it to show up. It should be showing up. Yeah, there we go. We've got the iClever keyboard. I click that, and it is paired. From there, we can go back and go to your Steam menu, go to Power, and switch to desktop. And from desktop mode, I'm going to show that on a screen capture because it'll be easier to see what's going on. This is just a welcome to KDE screen. You can press next, 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 and just finish that. And from there, the next steps I'll show on the screen capture. All right, now that we're in desktop mode, the first thing we're going to do is install Firefox. In your taskbar, there's a Firefox icon. Click it and click Install, and it will install Firefox. After it finishes installing, we can go ahead and close that window, and we're going to click on this Discover icon. And this is actually the same app, but what we're wanting to search for is a torrent client. Transmission is a good lightweight bare bones one. So we're going to go ahead and install that. So click Install. That will download the client. And after it finishes, we're going to navigate to the eXoDOS website. So close that and open Firefox. And we're going to go www.retro-exo.com. Click into here, and if you're wanting eXoDOS, you click on the eXoDOS page. If you're wanting eXoDream, you can click on the eXoDream page. Both have Linux patches. So let's click on eXoDOS for this example. And this is going to be updated when the new torrent comes out. We will need to wait for that for the Linux patch, but it will be soon. I'm just showing you ahead of time. But what we're going to want for a Steam Deck is the light version. If you're on a desktop computer, go for the full release. It's worth it. But for this example, since it is a Steam Deck, I'm going to get the light torrent. And the Steam Deck should also have enough space for the media pack. So we can click on get the add-on media pack too. So let's open the eXoDOS Lite torrent. And you will notice that since this is the first time running transmission, it has an agree thing meant it wants you to do. So you have to click I agree to that first. if the window is over it and you don't notice that you're not going to be able to click anything on this window until you click I agree. Then you can choose the destination folder rather than just the downloads directory. I prefer to just go for the home directory. You can click home or wherever you want to put it, but I'll click open there, and that will download it into your home directory. I'm going to click open, and then I'm going to do the same for the media pack torrent. So we open the media pack torrent, go to transmission, and you want this in the same directory as the base eXoDOS pack. So I can put the home directory, and it's all going to go into the same folder. And click open. And it will download those packs. So after that finishes downloading, you're going to want to look for the Linux patch on this page. We have the Get the Linux Patch Here page. This page will be updated when the Linux patch has been released. But that will be where we go to. Yeah, this is an old page. So that will look completely different when the patch comes out. Something to note between the light version torrent or the full version torrent and the media pack is that the names that will be displayed in the torrent client are the same. The media pack is 173.5 gigabytes. The light version is just under 6. But the torrents are different. So just note that. If we go to our downloads directory, I have placed files as you will download for the Linux patch. There is the eXoDOS 6.04 Linux patch zip file. And then there is this one, DOS Linux magazines, for the media pack if you have the media pack. I'm going to make those separate downloads because not everybody will necessarily want the media pack. And if you do not have the media pack, it will add items for games that are references to magazine articles. And without the media pack, those will be div links. So that is why they're going to be separate downloads. Now, with that said, this is about done. So we're going to open a new window and navigate to the eXoDOS folder. Now, in this example, we have placed the eXoDOS folder in our home directory. So you can see there's the media pack readme and the eXoDOS readme. And there will be files in the content and exo directories as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the eXoDOS 6.4 Linux patch. We're going to place that in the root directory of the collection. And we're going to right click it. If you have a file manager that can do this, we want to extract archive here. We do not want to do it into a subdirectory. If you don't have a file manager that can handle that, then we can open it in an archive manager and go to extract to, and we want to not extract it into a subfolder. So make sure that it goes into the same folder, because inside the archive we have a content and an exo folder, and we want all of that to go into the root of the collection. So if it does zip into a subdirectory, then just drag the files back into where they should be. Or You can even open it in an archive manager and just drag and drop like that. Uh, Point being, we want to extract here. And that will take just a minute. And it has been extracted. In the content folder, we'll want to place, if you have the media pack, we'll want to place this DOS Linux magazines file. So we just simply drag that to there, and that will go along with the DOS magazines file from the media pack. Both need to be present along with the other media pack files if you want the media pack to work in Linux. So with that said, let's close that. This is almost done downloading. We will need to wait for that to finish before proceeding further. But you'll find that there is an eXoDOS Linux Readme file that will have various sections that are relevant to the Linux pack, an FAQ section, and other technical things that might be different for your operating system than others, depending on your desktop environment. After you finish downloading the torrents, you can click Remove Torrents, and that will remove the torrents. So that you're not seeing anymore. It's going to leave the files. And note that some people, depending on their file manager, may not be able to simply double click on the command files. And some desktop environments, they've actually disabled double clicking to open shell files for security concerns or whatever reasons they have. In GNOME, you can right click and click execute. In some other desktop managers, they don't actually even give you that option. That's very rare, but I have heard of a couple file managers that straight up just don't let you. And in that case, you might need to open a terminal window, such as console or terminal or whatever it's called, and change your directory to eXoDOS. And then if you do a // and tab, it will show you what files there are that you can run. The first file we're going to be doing is the install dependencies one. So you can type ins and do a tab, and it will have that out, and you can press enter to run it that way. And then same for the others. So if you can't run by double clicking or right clicking, keep that in mind. But let's assume you can double click. So the first thing we're going to run is we're going to run the install dependencies script. And if it asks you, what do you wish to do? You click do not ask it in and execute. So you just want to execute that. And this is going to run through the dependency installer to make sure that everything that's needed for eXoDOS is on your system. There is an option to download the latest setup. If there is a newer version of the dependency installer, it will grab that. This is not updating eXoDOS, it's updating the software that eXoDOS uses. And actually, this is a collection agnostic and dependency installer. So this same system would be used between all EXO packs that have been ported to Linux. The remove all installed EXO packages is if you just don't want eXoDOS anymore and you want to clean up stuff, or maybe you want to get rid of packages that you're not using anymore. Say you had a pack that you're not interested in anymore, you want to remove them, you could like remove the installed exo packages, and then you could rerun this and proceed with the installation and get only the ones that you want on your system. Uh, but let's do P to proceed. And this is checked for missing system packages. In this case, all system packages are there. If there is a missing system package, for a couple of systems, it will try to install it for you, and you will need sudo access if it needs to do that. If you do not have sudo access, or you're using an obscure version of Linux that it's not able to handle installing the system packages, just open your package manager and install whatever it says is missing. You can do a quick Google if the package name is different than what's displayed. Sometimes it might actually be another package name that has this particular software. But for most systems, this should be pretty straightforward and easy. So you press any key to proceed, and now it's going to install the packages specifically for eXoDOS, different DOSBox versions and stuff like that, which is going to be doing that through Flatpak. And by doing this, you do not need any escalated privileges. It is going to keep everything nice and simple so that it just installs all of the things needed for eXoDOS. And you're going to need to do this for each collection that has been ported. There's no guarantee that a separate collection is going to be using the same stuff. And actually, whenever we port exoscum.vm, it has different versions of scum.vm that it uses than eXoDOS does. So keep that in mind, that you want to run this on any packs that you download. If it's the first time you've been using eXoDOS on a computer, put it on a new Linux computer, even on an external drive it's already installed. You're going to want to install the dependencies. You don't need to rerun the eXoDOS setup if eXoDOS is already installed, but you will need to be doing this step. And this is just the unfortunate reality of Linux. There are a lot of distros that are very different, so we can't streamline it in the same way as Windows, but we can make it simple and easy. And also, another thing to note as well is that with these Flatpaks, if you update your video drivers, it may break OpenGL until you do an update on Flatpak. Now, you can always just run this dependency installer again, and that will fix the state of things if there's something broken. Or you can open a terminal and just run Flatpak update, and it will say like, oh, your video drivers have changed, and it will get all of the stuff that you need to get that working again. So this takes a few minutes, and it's just installing all of the stuff that's used by the collection. It doesn't matter what system you've got. If you've got Flatpak, all of the dependencies will be handled pretty nicely. So there's going to be a consistent experience on all computers, pretty much, as long as you have a distro that supports Flatpak. We do not support distros if they do not give you an option to install Flatpak. That is the thing that makes this project that can last for a long, long time. And it's the thing that can make it work on so many distributions. So this is this simple way of making it not a pain for anyone, where you can be pretty confident in a decade this is still going to work. Anyway, this is almost done. It is okay. It is finished installing all the dependencies. So it says, now you may proceed with running setup exo collection.command. In this case, we have eXoDOS. So we're going to go to the setup eXoDOS.command file. And it says that it's detected eXoDOS Linux and eXoDOS. So we're going to press C to continue. And this will not take too long, but it will take a little bit. You just go through the different steps. This is exactly the same as it is in Windows. In fact, everything in the back end is a one-on-one conversion of what's in Windows. So all of the features in eXoDOS 6 and everything is going to work the same on Linux as it will on Windows. And in fact, I can show you in a little bit some of these slight small differences in the backend. For example, the version of DOSBox used for different games is defined in a text file, and there's a Windows one and a Linux one because Linux is using different versions of DOSBox than Windows does. If you want to get into the grid of it, the same version number for a lot of variants, such as DOSBox ECE, do not behave exactly the same on Linux as they do on Windows. In fact, in a couple cases, we need to use different versions than Windows does. But everything's been thoroughly tested, and all of the games work correctly. The only issue you might encounter that slips through, for the most part, that isn't going to be the same as in Windows, is that Linux is a lot more sensitive to the cycle speed for the time being. DOSBox staging is working through a new way of doing things that's going to make it less sensitive. And by sensitive, I mean, if you don't have just the right cycles, there may be stuttering in the audio and issues with that. So there might be some games that the cycles need to be slightly adjusted. I recommend, if you encounter something like that, to file a ticket in our GitHub, and we will adjust that in a way that it behaves correctly. We've caught as many as we can, but with over 7,500 games, there's probably going to be some that slip through where there's going to be a little bit of stuttering and you need to adjust the clock cycle some. But that is the one thing that might be a little bit different than Windows. Now, this takes a little while to extract, so I will continue this video after this completes, and then we will go with the next steps for getting this ready. After the files have finished extracting, you'll be asked a series of questions. These questions will be the same as the ones in Windows. So, let's say we do not want to remove quote names. Let's keep it full screen. And for Steam Deck, you should always choose small for your desktop resolution. It doesn't have a huge resolution. And let's enable aspect ratio in this case.
Blow it out your ass.
And we can say yes for creating a desktop icon. You will see the desktop icon has appeared. And then for the Steam Deck, let's go through these additional steps. Open up Steam and go to your library. And we're going to click Add a Game. Add a non-Steam game. And we're going to browse. We're going to go to our home directory, to our eXoDOS directory, and we're going to choose all files for the filter. And what we're wanting is the exogui.command file. Click open on that and add selected program. And we select the exogui.command, go to manage, properties, and we can rename this to say eXoDOS. And choose an icon, go to eXoDOS, go to exo, util, and there's an exodos.png file. And we want to make sure that there's no compatibility stuff or other options. You're just leaving it all as the default. And then you can close that. And when you go return to gaming mode, that will launch on the Steam Deck. And that is all you have to do. And the first time of executing the shortcut, it will ask you what you want to do, and you just tell it, yes, I trust it. And even if you have a computer that is not able to open command files from the file manager, the desktop shortcut will always work. And from here, we have all the games that are listed. You have filters. You can filter by installed, recommended. You can filter by developers, publishers, series, genre, play mode, region, rating. You will have to install the games in the light version to see the videos and the extras. So to do that, it's simple. You can just click install and tell it, yes, we want to install the game. And if you're doing this from Steam gaming mode, you'll just be able to tap on the window and it will have an on-screen keyboard that pops up. So I say, yes, we want to download it. And the first time you run the download, ARIA2 will give you this error about a routing table not existing, and it's safe to ignore. Usually doesn't happen in subsequent ones, but it's just an expected thing. So that is not anything not working. And we just wait for the game to finish downloading, and it will take a few minutes. But after it's finished downloading, all of the extras will show up. The video previews for games that are downloaded will show up as well. There is one. And if we look in exogui, we have the different tabs at the top for DOS games, books, catalogs, magazines and newsletters, soundtracks, and there's a log in case there's an error or something, you can see what went wrong and report it. There are playlists that you can filter. There's the recommended games. So if it's something that is like a highly recommended game from Exo's personal preferences, and you can check that. If there's an X when you're clicking on these, this is everything except the recommended games. So I don't recommend that as much. So you can click, that will show you the games that are installed. The X will show you the games that are not installed, and then that clears the filter again. You can add multiple filters on things. You can search in different things. You can go ascending, descending. It should be, for the most part, most of the same features that you'll find in eXoDOS on Windows. So you can see right here, the video preview is already playing since the game is getting installed. And we can say we don't want to change anything. And we have all of the options. You can watch the manual. We can launch a trailer.
Murder, mystery, and
And so you have the media pack installed. If you have the media pack installed, you can look at these magazine articles, which this pops it up in a slightly different way than other things that uses Sumatra through wine for those. The converted so actually, one thing to note, this is a full magazine, but what it launched on when I clicked it is it actually went to the page that the review is on, the 11th hour right here. So keep that in mind. And then you can press escape and exit. And just like in Windows, when you play a game, you'll be given all of the options of how to play it, whether it's Sound Blaster, MD32, Sound Canvas, etc. One other thing to note if you are using the Steam Deck is that different games use different controls. So it might be useful to make a separate entry for a game so you can configure custom controls for it. So if we go and open Steam, click Add a Game, a non-Steam game, and note that adding games that are non-Steam games can only be done from desktop mode. You're going to click Browse, and we're going to go to our eXoDOS directory and exo and eXoDOS, and you will see that we had installed the 11th hour. That is the directory with the game files. That is not what we're wanting. We're wanting to go to Bing DOS and then the corresponding directory instead of that, which is going to be named exactly the same, 11th hour. So go Bing DOS and we will find 11th hour there and choose all files, and you will see this is where the scripts to launch the games are. We use the command files in Linux. So you'll also see under extras, there's the alternate launcher. I recommend playing games with the regular launcher. Alternate launcher will not work quite right for a lot of things. It can, but if you want to ensure that games work as you expect, the regular one's the one that's been tested. So we'll go 11th hour that command. We'll select that and add selected program. And we can go to the settings of this. Properties, you can take the command out of the name and you can add, if you want, the exoutil exodos.png file to indicate this is an EXoDOS game. Again, we are not going to change any of the other default settings. We're not going to do any compatibility modes or anything like that. We're just selecting it as is, like that. And fortunately, I don't think there is a way to add a big banner image, which would be nice. But that's just the way it is with non-Steam games. So that adds that game to Steam. So you can then launch it from gaming mode and set different control settings for it. Now, another thing to note is the structure for EXoDOS. We go to EXoDOS and just talking about the backend files that can be useful for people to know how it works compared to Windows. We go to exo and to util. There are a couple of text files here. Got alt dosbox underscore linux.txt, and this defines how the alternate launcher runs games, what version of DOSBox it uses. So if we were to change that to, say, like a different version of staging, this is where you would do that. Note that with Flatpaks, the ones that we build have access to anywhere on your file system, host access. If you have an external drive, a lot of people end up mounting them in the /media location. And the default official Flatpaks usually limit what the Flatpaks can access to your home directory. And if it's mounted in /media, then that means you cannot play your games, right? So if you are using another Flatpak that is a non-exo Flatpak, keep in mind that it may not have access to the location your games are in. And then we have DOSBox underscore linux.txt. And this is the normal way of launching games. And you'll find that each game might use a different version of DOSBox, like that uses ECE 4301, that uses DOSBox 7.4 R3, that uses staging 81 too. It can completely vary. There are some games that work through Wine. A few can, yeah, see that some actually, like if it's Gunstick DOSBox, that is an ancient version of DOSBox that you know, is not necessarily something you're going to be compiling today. Uh, Same for DOM games. If it's DOM, it's going to actually be using Wine because the uh, Linux version of DOM had tons of issues back in the day, and it hasn't been maintained for a decade. So even if you use backwards ways to get it working, it's going to have a lot more problems than if you just run it through Wine. There's only about a couple games that you use Wine for any reason. Um, Most of them are using it for extra tools that are Windows only tools. Like if you were running a game that uses a mapper that shows where you're at, like Goldbox Companion, that is going to use Wine when you have those options. If you're playing that game without Goldbox Companion, then it will use the native Linux version. But there's only about probably like 26 total games that use Wine at all. So we try to keep it as native as possible. Um, Other than that, one thing to keep in mind when you're switching to different versions, if you decide to edit that, is that different variants of DOSBox have different ways of writing configuration files. So, for example, staging is very different than every other version of DOSBox. Even going between ECE and DOSBox X, there are differences in how configuration files work. So, don't expect it to work if you change that. Um, we're not going to support anyone who's making changes in those files, but those files are there if you are an adventurous person. There's also this alt launch linux.txt file, and this simply tells what directory staging is at that Linux is using for the alternate launcher. This is going to be the same as in Windows. This was from a torrent, so it's that's going to change when the new version comes out. But it will match the same as in Windows. It's just simply got the slashes in the other direction. And that needs to be the same because there are configuration files and that are used by the games, and even if you are changing to a newer version of staging, leave that the same, uh, because those have eXoDOS files in them. And other than that, there are some programs like the version.command file that will tell you what version of eXoDOS you have. This is not accurate, but we had just downloaded a torrent, so that will be 6.4 when this is released. In the eXoDOS GUI, exogui for Linux, you will find the eXoDOS entry, and from here you can update, and you will also find the version command there as well. Another thing to mention is the eXoMerge script. If you run it, it shows you how you work it. You have the source directory and the destination directory. and the source is going to be the path to a collection that's already installed, and the destination is going to be what you're merging it into, what collection, also already installed. So if we were to open a terminal here, we would do /exoMerge.command, and then we can put a quote /home/deck, and let's say we had eXoDream. We would put that, the path for that, and then we'd put the destination /home/deck eXoDOS, right? And if both are there, running that will merge the collections into eXoDOS. So just something that is useful when you have other collections, as there will be more and more that get ported to Linux. All right, so we're back in gaming mode, and you may notice that the game does not show up on your main list. Now, we go to library, we'll see that it's on non-Steam, and there is where your stuff is. So we had added 11th Hour and eXoDOS. And you can just simply click eXoDOS and play from there, and it will launch. And we can click on installed and see that the 11th hour is right here. And you can click on box art and various things. You can scroll down and look at the extras from there too. And then you can play. So we have the 11th hour launched in gaming mode, and because this is in DOSBox, you might notice the keyboard is not automatically popping up when we press on it. Well, that could be a problem. What we can do is we can click on Steam, and we'll see it has a controller settings. So we can go to controller settings, and what we want to do is we want to enable back grip buttons and choose a system option, or you could do this on another button, whatever you want to do. But we want to do show keyboard. And then, yeah, you can set however you want things set up on the game, but we need something that has the system command show keyboard. That's the main thing I'm wanting to show for this. So then when you press that, you can actually access, hey, let's do it in Sound Blaster. And you have to hold it down for the keyboard to show up when you do this. And then you can just like type on. But that is the way you're going to be doing that. And different games work better and worse with the setup. Some will work really well, others won't work that well. DOS was not a mobile platform, so I highly recommend always having one of these where you can have a mouse and keyboard wherever you're at, like it was meant to be played. And for games that work well just with the controller itself and the touchscreen, great. But not every game's going to be like that. So just keep that in mind. That's about all the gist of everything. Playing on a Steam Deck is not going to be the best way of playing it. The best way of playing is on a desktop computer. But I can see the appeal of having a mobile DOS machine. And this is going to get you closer than anything else for being able to play whatever DOS game you want on the go. Some games will work perfect this way. But if it doesn't, you've always got desktop computers. And that will always give you the true experience of what it was like to play DOS games back in the day. That's all I've got. Appreciate everybody for the encouragement and support, and really looking forward to this release. It is going to be the best Linux port there's been up to this date by far. Anything previously was nothing in comparison to this. This has been a lot more work that's gone into this, and the game should play seamlessly for the most part. If there's any issues you have, feel free to reach out in the Discord, and have an awesome day, and I hope you guys enjoy the pack.